If you are at all concerned about keeping your nervous system healthy, I'm going to talk a little bit about prevention tips for Parkinson's disease, but really this does apply to so many different neurodegenerative disorders and of course their prevention. Now there are different causes for Parkinson's that we'll go through. The first one on my list is toxic exposure. So we know that exposure to certain toxins may increase the risk of developing neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's disease. And we know that agricultural pesticides and herbicides are often the culprits here. So really, going more organic may be in your best interest. And of course, if you do your own type of garden and farming, trying to stay away from agricultural toxins that you may be using is really important. Now, another type of toxin here that I do want to mention is blue light toxicity. So from all of our artificial lights, as well as man-made EMFs, so electromagnetic fields from things like our cell phone, our Wi-Fi, and towers that may be in your vicinity, definitely increases the risk of cells not working properly in your nervous system. And this becomes really important in terms of prevention of things like Parkinson's to make sure that we're mitigating our risks against some of these exposures. Okay, another cause of Parkinson's could be head injury. So if you've had any type of concussion, brain injury in the past, this can definitely increase the likeliness of developing Parkinson's. Number 3 on my list is poor diet. So if your diet is really deficient in things like that omega-3 fatty acid, DHA, this becomes really important for protecting all of your nerves and the electrical signaling in your body. And of course, antioxidants as well. Hopefully you're getting some of those in your dietary intake. Number 4 on my list, another cause is lack of sun. Now this actually has a study behind it. I'm going to show you that. And this is because of the substantia nigra in the brain, where if our dopamine levels, of course, this is of concern when that dopamine becomes very depleted in Parkinson's. One of the reasons that this becomes so important for your melanin, and that's why the substantia nigra is actually loaded with melanin, that's why it is a darker color and it's called nigra, meaning black. This is where sun exposure becomes very important. Where do we build our external melanin? Well, that's from our natural sun exposure and building up our tan. Now, in this study, it was found that melanin, a hybrid electronic ionic conductor, may have the potential to split water. And this becomes important because water can be split into molecular hydrogen and molecular oxygen. Now, what they go on to say is that molecular hydrogen is an antioxidant and is instrumental in preventing the excessive oxidation leading to Parkinson's disease. So therefore, building up our melanin on the outside, but on the inside in our brain as well, becomes very important. And that is linked now to your mitochondrial health and be able to create light from within. But more importantly, let's talk about my tips now, how to prevent Parkinson's and other neural diseases, neurodegenerative diseases. All right, tip number 1, of course, is get out there into that sunlight. And we know that the sun has been vilified. We've been told to put on our sunscreen, be careful, stay out of the sun, put on our sunglasses. Well, for a lot of disease processes, the absolute opposite is true. You want to build up a tan, do it as safely as possible, and getting small increments of sun and building up your melanin, super important for protecting your brain and nervous system. Okay, tip number 2 is, of course, to lower your EMF exposure. I've got other videos on how to do exactly that, and limiting your blue light toxicity. So turning your lights off after the sun has set, putting on your blue light blocking glasses, covering your skin when you're under artificial lights, really important for your brain and nervous system as well. Okay, tip number 3 is to practice grounding. So yes, get your shoes off. You got to take off your shoes, go outside, either be in water, on the beach, on rocks, in sand, on the ground, on the grass, wherever you can take off your shoes and connect your bare feet to the earth. Super important for bringing up the earth's electrons, which are very anti-inflammatory, but also charging our body with that charge that it needs. Those electrical charges, those electrons is what we need to dissipate out some of those protons. We tend to have more protons, the plus charge, which is very inflammatory. Okay, number 4 on my list, another tip for Parkinson's prevention is to get more DHA into your diet. Well, how do you do that? The best form, of course, is seafood. So fish, it could be shellfish. DHA is your best friend. This is where oysters, really high in DHA, one of the super foods for Parkinson's prevention. Okay, tip number 5 is to lower your deuterium in your diet. Now, this is something, again, I've got other videos on how we can deplete our deuterium and create more deuterium depleted water in our own mitochondria. This becomes very important because certain foods, and it's often the carbohydrates, are very high in deuterium. Things like coconut water, which is always a shock to everyone, is supposed to be a health food, also high in deuterium. Certain waters that you can drink are lower in deuterium as well, so very beneficial as a prevention for Parkinson's disease. Okay, tip number 6 is to optimize your sleep, getting that good restful night's sleep. This is when your brain is detoxifying. This is when your organs are detoxifying. This is when your hormones like melatonin and your thyroid hormone are being secreted, helping to create that balance in your system and balancing the timing of your internal world with your external world. This is really important because the light and dark cycle of the day is going to determine how our body clocks and our organ clocks are working in conjunction with our external world. And that's why when our clocks become out of sync and out of whack, this is when we get sick. So really getting your clocks back on a good sleep schedule, really, really important for your overall health and for the prevention of Parkinson's. And tip number 7, of course, is to consider full body detox and especially getting heavy metal toxins out of your body. So things like mercury, aluminum, which we know has implications in crossing the blood-brain barrier and can be correlated with neurodegenerative diseases. So that's something I usually recommend doing, full body detoxing. I have more tips on that coming up in a second. But I want to know from you, do you hide from sunlight exposure? Be honest, I want to hear from you in the comments. Now, for tips on how to do that full body detox, I want you to check out my video, 7 tips for detox. I'll see you there.